Hi, I'm Alvina Ling.
And I'm Grace Lin.
And we're book friends
Forever!
We're childhood friends
Who grew up to be
a children's book editor.
and an author and illustrator. Yay!
Welcome to Book Friends Forever. This is the gossip episode.
And check out our website, bookfriendsforever.com, and our Instagram and YouTube channel at bookfriendsforever_podcast.
So, as those of you who are on YouTube can tell, that Grace and I are here together.
Yay!
We're here in my basement. We have a nice, this is like a...
I know, it looks kind of professional.
Yes, we're like in a professional studio, and we're using our microphone. So we'll see. We've heard that the microphone is helping with the audio quality, so I'm glad that that's working. Anyway, Grace, how have you been?
Good. I'm here in Brooklyn because today I'm going to be at the Brooklyn Book Fest, doing some kind of trivia thing with Nick Brule and I think his name's Craig Farmer. I'm sorry, I'm blanking out. I think it's Craig Kofi Farmer, but I'm not sure. Apologies, third person. But then I'm doing that, and then tomorrow I have a meet and greet at You and Me Books. So trying to get the promotion wheel for The Gate, the Girl, and the Dragon for the fall, keep it going. So that's as well as keep up with my work. And I'm also dropping off the art for not the novel, for the picture book,
which we haven't looked at yet. So I'm excited for that. But we're like, we have to record this podcast and then we have to go to the Brooklyn. So
yes.
I will look at the art.
We can look at it later.
We have all weekend.
Yes.
Well, I have been here in Brooklyn. So while Grace, I'm going to the Brooklyn Book Fest today, and we'll cheer Grace on. And then we're actually having dinner with a childhood friend, Abby, who we've known since elementary school.
Yes.
And actually in 7th grade, the three of us were kind of like a threesome.
Yep.
We even had a name.
It was so dorky.
I don't know why. We were, our name was
in trouble or something like that.
We were in trouble.
And
which is funny because we're never really in trouble. Maybe Abby was a little more in trouble.
Abby was more in trouble. But
I have not seen Abby since 7th grade, since I moved away.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited to see her. So we'll report back on that next week.
Yeah.
But other than that, so on Monday was a event for Chris Colfer's book, Roswell Johnson Saves the Galaxy, which is a sequel to Roswell Johnson Saves the World. And he had an event at the Strand, which I love the Strand for events. They have I think it's on the 3rd floor. It's like the antique book room. And it's cozy and it's great. And so Chris's boyfriend / partner, I guess boyfriend is there, Will, who I know and love. When Will has read Year of the Dog and loved that book. So, and Will's parents were there visiting, and so a bunch of us went to dinner afterwards, and it was really great. It's always nice to see kids at Chris's events.
Yeah, that's what I've really liked at some of the events I've been at recently, like Jeannie Birdsall's. It's like when there's kids there. I've also gone like a lot of author events I've gone to, and it's mainly other writers, which is great too in a different way. But when you're a children's writer, it's really nice to see other kids.
Yeah,
like
and the kids are so excited.
Yeah,
there's one girl that brought her copy of The Land of Stories, The Wishing Spell, and it was like totally worn and pieces. And
I actually really love that. Like sometimes parents will be embarrassed because it's like all tattered. I'll be like, no, this is awesome. You know?
Yeah, it's like they loved it.
Yeah.
It's like the Velveteen Rabbit. Mm-hmm. They're going to make the book real. But I will say that after that, I kind of started feeling like, do I have allergies or am I catching a cold? And I don't know. Maybe I sound congested, but I still don't know what it is. But I'm pretty much recovered now. But I just feel like I laid low all week after that. I stayed home and, that was good. I'm drinking my tea.
Yay.
So because we're together, we were just thinking, like, what would be a fun topic? And I have been binging, really, a podcast recently called Normal Gossip. and some of you might have heard of this podcast. A coworker, Liz, she turned me onto it, and I listened to some episodes, but it wasn't one of those podcasts that I started, listening to regularly. And then recently, at our company, we sometimes will we'll do a deep dive on a series or a competitive title. And our marketing department did a deep dive on the Warrior Cats series.
Oh my gosh.
Which one of my
that.
nephews is in love with.
Yeah.
And then several people mentioned that there is an episode of Normal Gossip that covers a Warrior Cats fan fiction gossip that was really good. And so I went and I listened to it, and it is really good. So I recommend that episode because it's about the fan fiction community and how serious they are, but there's also romance, and it's very funny. So then I started binging Normal Gossip, and it kind of inspired me to maybe write in a piece of gossip that I had. And then Grace was like, "What is it?" And I thought, oh, maybe I can tell Grace this piece of gossip on the podcast and tell all of you as well. But I guess to copy a little bit of how the host starts each episode of Normal Gossip, basically she has a different guest on, and then she asks the guest, "What is your relationship to gossip?" So we'll ask ourselves.
Yes. Gossip. What is our relationship to gossip? So I admit that I partake in gossip. Sometimes it depends on what the gossip is, but a lot of times I feel like it's fairly harmless, and it's like a nice kind of way to bond with people, especially people you know but not really, really well. Though every once in a while I think I do kind of feel myself crossing the line, and then I always feel like, oh, maybe I wish I had listened to my better angels there and stopped, so I would say as time has gone on, older and older, I feel like I partake less and less in gossip, mainly because I think most of my friends now, it's not that kind of gossip. Maybe it's business gossip now, but it's more like nuts and bolts kind of gossip versus like, hey, did you hear that? So though I also think gossip has a good point. For a long time, in the children's book industry, gossip was kind of the whisper network that kind of protected certain people from other people. So,
They're
pros and cons.
Well, I remember during the pandemic, there was an article, I think it was in the New York Times, that talked about the benefits of gossip in terms of connecting with people. Mm-hmm. And I think there's a difference, and they talk about this on the podcast, the gossip. So it's normal gossip because people basically call in or write in with some gossip from their own lives, but they make sure to anonymize it all. And it's never really terrible, serious, life change. Like, for example, a recent one was a family where during a holiday they were all at the same house, and they found a half-eaten hot dog in the toilet. And so the gossip was which kid put the hot dog in the toilet. And it became this like urban family lore, and they didn't find out. The grandfather on his deathbed, he finally found out, but he decided not to tell anyone because he said, "I earned this." And but it's satisfying because there's a follow-up, and then you do find out. Uh-huh. But it's one of those unsatisfying pieces because some people, even though like they have an answer, they doubted it because over the years they were so convinced that it was this other kid that did it, and which is what made me think of my piece of office gossip. But yes, I will say I love gossip. I used to read a website called Blind Gossip, which was celebrity gossip. And I think I like celebrity gossip because it's not people I know, but it's famous people, and you like to just, think about, I don't know, the hijinks that famous people get down to. I don't know. And some of that gossip can be really mean-spirited.
Yeah, I think when it gets mean-spirited, that's when I realize, oh, no, I think that's...
Yes.
You have to stop there,
Yes, but I am enjoying this normal gossip because the stories are really fun.
Most of the time it's like things that everybody already knows, and you're like, can you believe it? So.
Right, like this person cheated on this person, or But yeah, and the normal gossip, yeah, I guess there's a little bit of that, but it is mostly, it's usually more innocent than that. But it could involve like a friend group and like couple getting married, and then a Facebook chat group where that blows up, or, that kind of thing. So I'm going to tell you this piece of work gossip.
Okay.
And I'm going to see if I can remember the story and also anonymize it. So
Okay.
even though it's not, you'll see it's not a terrible, it's not a terrible story. It's just a very fun, drawn out story.
Okay.
And I think I've told you this before, but you probably had forgotten.
Okay.
So I'll just say we had a head of a department. This is a long time ago. This is probably 20 years ago.
Okay.
So I was maybe an editor, maybe more a junior level.
Uh-huh.
And the leader of this department, I think the main thing you need to know is that he was a little bit paranoid. Like, he was very kind, smart man, but he was also a little bit paranoid. And then the other piece of information that's helpful to know is that he was known for sending all company emails asking for random things. So, for example, once he asked, does anyone know where I can find a purebred Siamese cat to the whole company? Or does anyone have an exercise bicycle that I can borrow? So he was kind of known for doing things like that. So this was a long time ago when we were circulating physical birthday cards. And so a birthday card circulated for this person. Let me pick a man's name.
A man's name, John.
John. Okay, so this birthday card circulated for John. And when it came to me to sign, I noticed that it looked like someone had cut a hole out of the card. So it's almost like someone had written a message and then cut their message out. And I thought, that's really weird. But I signed the card, but then I brought it over to John's assistant. Pick another man. Sam. I brought it over to Sam and I said, Sam, there's a hole cut out of this card. I don't think we should give John this card this way because it'll drive him crazy. Mm-hmm. And then Sam's like, okay, well, I'll take care of it. So that's, I didn't hear about it until the card eventually got to John. But someone told me that when they signed the card, Sam had put a sticky note that said, please ignore the hole, with an arrow to the hole. And I said, what? So he still circulated the card, and he still gave this card to John with the hole cut out of it. So then I kind of forgot it again, but, I kind of heard maybe in the office them people laughing about it, and then I kind of forgot about it. Fast forward maybe a couple weeks, and we had a staff meeting. And at our staff meeting, people can submit questions in advance, but it's just like a regular staff meeting, updates. And then at the end, John is answering the questions. And the first question was about, when are we getting our raises? And he answers that. And then he said, and the second question, and he said, I am so glad someone asked this. And he read from the paper, who cut the hole out of John's birthday card? So the whole room starts laughing. But then, so it's kind of joking. He said, so I have 3 suspects. And he said, my first suspect is I know from reading mystery novels that the person who is trying their hardest to help you solve the mystery is often the culprit. And so name a woman's name.
Joanna.
So Joanna, is my first subject. And Joanna was kind of like I wouldn't say busybody, but she loved gossip.
Yep.
And she, was very, I could definitely see her being like, oh, let's try to figure this out. So Joanna was his first subject. And then he said, okay, and the second suspect is, I noticed there was only one person who didn't sign the card. And I'll say the real person, so Amy Lin, who was an editor, she said, I was on my honeymoon. Because she was. But it is true that she was the only one who didn't sign the card. And so he said, well, Amy is my second.
So she's got an alibi.
And then he said, and my third suspect is, and he said, I could tell from like kind of like you can tell that there's a little bit of writing around the hole that I could tell that whatever message was cut out of it was written with a gold pen. And so everyone started laughing again because just like a week earlier, he had sent an all company, email asking if anyone had a hammer he could borrow or a gold pen. And so the person who had volunteered their gold pen was our art director at the time, Sally.
Okay.
So he's like, okay, so it's Joanna, Amy, and Sally were his three suspects. But, everyone's like, okay, they're not really probably the culprits. So then he pauses and says, okay, but really, who cut the hole out of my birthday card? And like, don't worry, I'm not going to get mad if you wrote like something offensive on the message and then you wanted to cut it out, but I just really want to know. And it was a little like sad because he really wanted to know. And also we all really wanted to know, but no one came forward.
No one came forward and no one ever, did you ever find out?
Well, fast forward like maybe not 10 years, but many, many, many years later. Our managing editor at the time was leaving and going on, he was having a baby and he was leaving the company. And so we had a goodbye party / baby shower for him. And we gave him a gift. And then at the end he's like, well, now I have a gift for John. And then John was like, oh, for me? Ooh, what is it? And he said, I know who cut the hole out of your birthday card. And like, so by then, maybe half of us had been there or less, but so that those of us who had been there when this all happened were like, oh my God, we were like so excited. And so the managing editor, pick a band's name again. Randall. So Randall said, I cut the hole out of your card. And he said, I wrote a little message and I kind of messed up. And then I thought, it'd be really funny if I just cut it out because again, I think people did know that John was a little paranoid and he thought, I know this will be funny. It'll drive him crazy. So he cut the hole out and he said, I really intended to come clean right away, but it became such a funny
urban legend.
The reaction was so great that he's like, I didn't want to come clean right away. So So I think at that point, he's like, I'm not going to come clean until I leave. And so he came clean. So I believe him, but John does not fully.
Oh.
If you were to guess, like, do you believe him or do you have any other suspects?
No, I believe him. Because it's just such a silly thing.
I know.
Like, why would you confess to it if you didn't do it?
I know. I believe him, but my suspect at the time was, now I forget what name we gave the assistant. Sam, right?
Yes.
Yes. I kind of suspected Sam because Sam knew about it. I told Sam we can't give John the card this way, and all he did was put a sticky note saying, please ignore the hole. And he still gave it.
I suspect that Sam knew who did it.
Maybe, yeah.
And knew it was like a joke. He's like, okay, we'll keep going,
Yeah.
So
I mean, I guess if we really wanted to investigate, we could have seen like who, because when we circulated cards at that time, usually we put initials and after you sign it, you cross off your name. So I could have looked at who had signed it before me. Although if it was Randall, he could have pretended, he could have not checked himself off and let it circle to him as well.
True.
So anyway, so that was the piece of office gossip. And that's the kind of story that they tell on the podcast, which is fun.
That's so funny. I try to think if there's good. I've got a good author gossip story, which I think I can name names because it's really, really old. And this is a story that I think I might have even told on the podcast before.
Maybe.
Is when I was first starting out and I was doing school visits. So this is about 20 years ago. I visited a school in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and the lady was so happy that I did the school visit and went well. She's like, oh, thank you so much. We have this program every year, and I've been doing it and for like 15, 20 years. And I was like, oh, that's so great. And she's like, And I was like, my first author was Margaret Ray of Curious George. I was like, that must have been amazing. And she's like, it was so bad, I almost never did it again. And I said, why? Why was it so bad? And she said, well, times were really different, but she came in smoking a cigarette. And
Times were very different.
She got up on stage smoking a cigarette. And a little boy raised his hand and said, why did you make Curious George a monkey? And she took a big drag of her cigarette, blew it out, and said, because I like monkeys better than children.
I do love author stories like that.
Yeah, I do too. So that's the kind of gossip I like.
I think that when gossip can become dangerous is when... So something that I found fascinating in this normal gossip... So I haven't finished listening to everything, but I think it was either at the end of season 1 or maybe the end of season 2. They basically played a game of telephone or operator where they had the first guest. They told the first guest a piece of gossip, and then the first guest told the second guest that same piece of gossip, and then on and down the line. And there were 8 guests, and then the 8th guest told the same story to the host of the podcast. But we get to hear each guest and how, the first time it changed only very, very slightly. And then the third time it changed, there was like one major piece that changed. And then by the end, so it started as kind of an innocent story about like a couple where, they broke up, and then they find a TikTok by him, but by the end it turned into like this guy was a catfish scammer and he set out to rob him. It was just very interesting.
It is interesting, and I could see, it's our good friend Libby who's been on the podcast. She has such a vivid imagination.
Yeah,
like she has told me stories of things that I did that I didn't do. She's like, "Do you remember when you did?" I was like, I don't remember ever doing that, but like to her, she's so convinced that I've done that, and I was like, I think that was someone else.
Yeah, it's
hard, especially when you have such a vivid imagination. I mean, actually, this is something I should apologize. I think most of the time I've been okay about it, but I often tell this story about how this part is true, where I go to where in my past, when I was first starting out, I would show my artwork to editors, and they would tell me what they think, and I'd try to get published by them. And one editor said to me, "Thanks so much for coming. I like your stuff, but I already got an Asian guy, so I don't need you." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And that was very, very memorable. But I'll use the name
And
John.
I will say, well, usually, I think, because you've shared this before in the podcast, but you don't mention who the editor is.
I never mentioned the editor's name, and it really did happen. That's true. But for the longest time, let's say his name is John, and I was like, it was John Williams, we'll say, and so people in one-on-one.
The composer?
So one-on-one, I would tell people, yeah, that was John Williams. And then one day I saw a picture of John Williams, like, that's not him. And then I realized, oh, it's not John Williams. It was John Smith, and I was like, oh, shoot. So anybody who I've told the name to one-on-one, I've told you the wrong last name.
Right. And so that is like where
So that's where gossip goes bad. So.
Right. Yeah, I mean, my mother-in-law had told me a story that happened to her, and it involved someone in the children's book industry that I know, and it was, it was kind of an innocent story of like, oh, she had gone to a conference, and she was very friendly with this person, and she thinks, oh, this person must have misunderstood and thought that maybe they were going to like hook up. And followed her to her room, and then eventually this person like realized his mistake and left. But she named the person, and it's a person I know of, and I like my face kind of fell because I know this person is married and has kids, and also like I kind of didn't believe it, which of course I don't want to like contradict my mother-in-law. And she, so she saw how I looked, and she's like, well, maybe I got the detail, like she kind of backtracked a little bit. And then later on she called and she said, my spouse just reminded me that it wasn't this person, it was this other person.
Like the name, she got the name wrong.
She got the name wrong.
Yeah.
And I was like, Oh, and because the other person she named, I was like, oh, I can see that, which is funny. But yes, that's where I think
that's where gossip is bad.
Yes, because it could be harmful for someone's reputation.
Yeah, it could be
sure.
So sorry, John Williams. But I don't think I've ever said it to anybody more than one-on-one. So I think John Williams is okay.
Yes. Well, anyway, that was kind of fun.
Yeah.
But yes, if we ever meet you listeners one-on-one and you have some juicy gossip for us,
I will share one last author gossip story, because I just think this is the one that makes me laugh, or not laugh, but it makes me feel better as for school visits. So there's a very famous author who did a children's book on childhood obesity, and they did a school visit. The reason why I know this is because I was in New York at the time, and the publicist, when we went out to dinner with the publicist, and the publicist actually drinks, and the publicist is like, I need a really stiff drink. And we're like, why? And so, like I said, this author who had done a book on childhood obesity was at a school visit, and a child raised their hand and said, why did you do this book? And the author said, because kids are too fat these days, like that boy right there. And pointed out. And like the kids are crying, and the publicist was like, like deer in headlights. And so sad. But as an author, it's like, it made me feel like, oh, the bar is so low. Like, as long as I don't call out a kid
for being
fat, I'm good.
Although you did reveal that a certain person is not real.
So
a person with a white beard. Okay.
So I have done really terrible things too. So yes, we're all subject to pieces of gossip.
All right, so moving on to our fortune cookie segment.
Okay.
We thought there was a piece of kind of hopeful publishing news in Publishers Weekly, and it was basically about a kind of a grassroots group that gathered to help. I think they call themselves Save Middle Grade.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it's an article in Publishers Weekly, and it's a person. It was started by someone who was a bookseller, I think at Barnes & Noble. Mm-hmm. And he was saying, I wish I could, wait, do we have the article? Well, I guess people can look it up. We can put it in the show notes. So he was working at Barnes & Noble, and so he witnessed the challenges that middle grade was going through. So he started talking to friends, author friends, agent friends, editor friends, about what can we do to save middle grade. And so it started with, like, let's meet and discuss this. It's at the top. It should be at the top. Let's see.
Oh, is that it?
Right,
okay.
Yeah, right there. Sorry. So the article, we're getting it up. It was called New Group. So the headline is New Group aims to, quote, save middle grade. And then the main person who started it is named Josh Sippy, who I think is now an editor. I think he's a graphic novel editor. So it started, I think, like maybe 8 to 10 people met, and they meet monthly now. And it started as more of a, I don't know, maybe venting and sharing ideas. But they are hoping to now make it more action oriented. And I guess one idea was to maybe start a festival so that kids can be more excited about reading again. So there isn't anything concrete yet, but I do feel like it's heartening that people are deciding, like, let's take action and let's do something about it. I wonder if something
like that, if a bunch of local groups were to do this, like if I were to start a Save Middle Grade group, would it be helpful or not? Like, I'm so interested to see, because unfortunately it doesn't say what they're any like specific concrete items that they've decided.
Yeah, I wish they had put a contact info in the article with ways to join, because they said that up to 30 people now who attend, and they try to meet monthly.
And it seems like it's in New York, so it's more of an industry thing. So
right. I started following Josh on Instagram, but maybe I'll send him a DM and see if I can join or help.
It'd be interesting to, it's like, if it was like authors save middle grade and like teachers save, like how,
Yeah.
like it'd be interesting to see if there's like all these like
The
little
one
groups.
thing that I keep thinking of is Pizza Hut,
Uh-huh.
which I never participated in, but I feel like people in Gen X remember Pizza Hut giving away like a free pizza if you read the most books. Like I think Pizza Hut had like a competition, and I do feel like if some big corporation had a competition like that again, or I've talked about raising readers before. So this is an initiative that Hachette Book Group is starting, and it's both UK and US. And actually our publisher Megan Tingley, it was her brainchild. And the idea is to really engage adult authors in in spreading the word that, how important reading is for children. Because, of course, if we just talk about profit and financial repercussions, if kids aren't reading, then they're not going to turn into adults who read and buy, they're not going to buy your book.
Yeah.
But also just childhood literacy is so important because it really leads to success, not just in career, but also in life, as all the studies show. So it really is important. So it's not just, because it's our industry, although that is also
Yeah,
plays
I
a
would
role.
love to figure out like another kind of brainchild. Like it'd be interesting if like authors could think of something. I mean, that's kind of why I joined the podcast with Melissa Tom, the Bookish State. Where we were thinking her idea, or our idea, more her idea, was to think about the state lists, because I think that is something that is a strong way of getting middle grade.
Yeah, and I think what's great with the state lists is that it is like a competition in a way, or it's not a competition. You get to vote, and I do think gamifying it a little bit for kids, I think helps.
So I wonder if there's something like authors could do. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. I know for raising readers, they just announced that Reese Witherspoon is going to be a spokesperson for that, which is really great. I think it would be nice to also have a man, because I do think for boys reading, if there is an adult, role model.
Yeah, I think a sports figure of some sort probably would be really good. I'm not cute. I'm not clued in enough in sports though.
Steph Curry, his wife's the author. I think does he write too? I actually don't know. Yeah, there are athletes who read.
Yeah.
We were like Pedro Pascal, not that he's
but I don't
he's
know.
a big reader.
Yeah, I think that he would be great, but I don't know if boys, like young boy, like a middle grade.
But because he was in that Star Wars spinoff.
Maybe, yeah.
So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, who were we saying that I thought would be interesting, but then we were like, I don't know. Oh, Timothy Chalamet.
Yeah.
I was like, I think girls
Chalamet.
girls like him. I don't know if like boys.
Right.
I don't see a middle grade boy be like,
maybe no, I guess again it's still girls. Like if it's BTS or like a K-pop.
K-pop, they like all the girls would be so into it. But I think that would be interesting too in a different way. Like,
well, so with raising readers, we were comparing it to like the Got Milk campaign.
Yeah.
Like if we can have a lot of different
Taylor Swift.
I mean, well, the CBC and Every Child a Reader, they have those posters, the Get Reading posters, which
Get Caught Reading.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's not. I think that, don't get me wrong, I think they're great, but in a way, it's not slick enough. Like.
Also, those posters are up in bookstores and libraries.
Yeah. Hi, Kitty.
Hi, Mo.
Are you going to share with us?
Mo wants to be on a podcast. Oh, okay.
She wants you to be a reader too.
Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, so I think all of our listeners join us, Save Middle Grade group, and let's change the story.
Yes, definitely.
So now we'll end as we always do with what we're grateful for. Grace, what are you grateful for?
So I am grateful that I'm here in New York. I'm grateful that it's really nice, the fact that whenever I come to New York, I get to stay at your place. And I think that's a real privilege and a real luxury. And it's a real, it's something not to take for granted. So I'm really grateful that you always have room for me when I come to New York City. I'm really grateful that I'm starting to actually feel pretty comfortable navigating the city. I think it took me a long time because I'm just a slow adapter. But so I'm really grateful for that. And I'm really grateful that I finished the paintings, at least half the paintings of my book that you have. So that's what I'm grateful for. How about you?
I'm grateful for that as well. I'm grateful. I am always grateful for this home, this beautiful home that Stephen and I share, and that we do have room to have guests. I'm also grateful that you're not allergic to cats, because I do have some friends who can't stay here, including your husband, actually, who, because they're allergic to cats, and we do have 2 cats. But I am glad that we have space, and it's comfortable. And yeah, I'm glad that you're comfortable with New York, because tomorrow I won't be able to be with you.
Yes, I shall.
To shuttle around the city. Yes, and I guess I'm grateful that I'm feeling better, so that's nice for these weekend festivities. Yeah, and having this home is also a wonderful place to host a baby shower and parties. So I'm glad that I'm able to do that as well.
I just realized we forgot to get flowers.
And that was the gossip episode. Thanks for joining us, and thanks to Alex at Pacey Work Studio for editing this podcast. Please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts and tell a friend about it.
Yes, and I think we are thinking sometime in February we might have actual gifts, and we're gonna or Patreon rewards, and we're gonna have like a whole month of leave a review
pledge
and
drive.
rating. Yes, a pledge drive to us in February. That gives us plenty of time, I hope. But in the meantime, please tag us on social media using the hashtag BookFriendsForever, or send us a message via Instagram at BookFriendsForever_podcast, or via our website, BookFriendsForever.com. And please join our Patreon. The link is in the show notes.
I'm Alvina Ling, and you can find me at Planet Alvina on TikTok and Alvina Ling on Instagram, Blue Sky, and Threads.
And I'm Grace Lin, and you can find me at Pacey Lin on Instagram and Threads, and author Grace Lin on Facebook. And that's pretty much it.
Have a great week.
And happy reading! Bye!